Dear friends, colleagues, and as we often say in South Africa, comrades in responsible management education. It's my pleasure to record and share with you this message. My carbon budget won't allow me, unfortunately, to travel again until November when we have our events in Portugal. I send warm greetings, positive energy for the conference and the discussions at Jonkoping International Business School this week. Behind me, you can see Vleesbaai, and in the distance lies the town of Mossel Bay. The coastline is the site of the Bloembos Caves, an archaeological site about 300 kilometers east of Cape Town. Its unique archaeological find contains both Middle Stone Age deposits, about 100 to 70,000 years before the present, as well as late Stone Age artifacts, helping us understand when and where key behavioral innovations emerged among Homo sapiens. So we have a backdrop here of the evolution of innovation. Fast forward a few centuries to March 1488, having missed the site of modern-day Cape Town by a considerable distance, the Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias took advantage of the Antarctic winds, and it pushed him back inland to reach this bay. Of course, he only discovered the Cape Peninsula much later on his way back, and of course then named it the Cape of Storms. Today we know that Dias's arrival here was the discovery of a passage around the southernmost tip of the African continent, which connected the European and Far East and Indian traders. Later, the Portuguese king renamed the Cape of Storms the Cape of Good Hope. So we have an additional backdrop here to evolution and innovation, which is also locating ourselves between different regions and traditions, and acknowledging that we find ourselves on the continuum between threatening storms or extinction, as I wrote in a recent newsletter, and a hopeful future, between extinction and hope. So what's important now? When this conference was first held in 2014, the topic was the future of responsible management education. Here we are 5 years later asking ourselves, what is the future we want? A few points to consider. We need an ecosystem of initiatives in responsible management education that takes care to be inclusive, resilient, that is collaborative, and I'm going to share a few thoughts around those points. A UN-endorsed initiatives such as RMER should be globally inclusive, sensitive to and respectful of the local context and price points. For instance, why not enable the regional entities to act as local signatory coordinator for the principles? This also leads and touches on the next point, which is around resilience. If we have a decentralized RMER that's driven by various regional chapters and working groups, much like this conference has been organized, with representation on a globally distributed and transparent governance body, we won't have a single point of failure. I understand the need for a legal entity which legitimizes the initiative at one level, and I imagine a future prime housed and stewarded within an independent entity that holds full endorsement from the relevant UN and quality bodies. Another aspect of resilience already touched on is the sensitive matter of financial sustainability. Primes rooted as a signatory initiative within which shared learning is reported. Instead of having the 600 or so schools, it should ideally involve the 12 to 15,000 schools globally. Imagine schools can sign the 6 principles online for a fee of, let's say, $50, receive a blockchain certified declaration which signals that they've signed up to Prime, and the system tracks whether they've submitted a report within a certain period, and which ensures that maybe 3 or 4 global and regional peers have reviewed their submission, thus expanding the knowledge sharing. If no report is submitted and reviewed within a specified period, that certificate expires and another fee is payable. Those that are champions of responsible management education should be those that share the most learning, not those that can afford to pay the most. Linked to the point of shared learning amongst signatories, I'd like to move on to the next point, which is about collaboration. Right now, we see increased fragmentation and competition for oxygen amongst various networks and initiatives and platforms. Only just last week in New York, we witnessed the launch of yet another platform for signatories or for universities to sign up to. I would argue we have enough initiatives and networks already. Instead, how can higher education and management education, more specifically, be relevant to what the world needs today if we don't pull together? Are we aligned? Recently, the Academy for Business and Society and GLI signed a joint MOU in which we committed both entities to accelerate the radical transformation of learning, living and leading. And we also invite others to join us in building such alliances for global responsibility in business and education. Some of you may recall the 50+20 vision, and if you don't know of it, I urge you to visit our website and learn more. The summary takeaway from that work is, let's collaborate to be the best for the world rather than compete to be the best in the world. My hope for this community is that we will shift the needle through collective action, that we will act rather than think our way ahead, and that the process of engagement within, amongst and beyond signatories will shape the future we want, and that will be a future of relational innovation towards global responsibility. Myron Rogers summarized his theory on systems, on living systems, when he said that the process we use to get to the future is the future we get. And my hope is for a bright future for responsible management education. Thank you very much.